bit about those, the difference, and why working with somebody like you can really have a positive impact, proactive impact on navigating all of that?
Yeah. So with the outsourced company HR like ADP, TriNet, I mean, they're really for big business, right? They don't care about you for small business, right?
So more than 500 folks.
Yeah, and like I have a friend, I have a person who she bought ADP last October for a company, and they're still onboarding like 8 months later, right?
Oh man.
And like it's ridiculous, right?
But what do they do in the meantime then?
They're still doing each on their own, pretty much, right?
So they're pretty much kind of having to pay double.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And then with ad hoc HR, it doesn't matter, like, hey, John Bob, you're doing a great job as a bookkeeper. Do HR too, right? But you're not paying them for a job, right? You're still paying for ad. They're only doing one job, right?
But when somebody does that for like a bookkeeper, the bookkeeper example, that's really just related to payroll HR, right? Like just that one function of HR. So that's not talent.
No,
that's not compliance, right? Like,
and you bring a good point. Like HR is so vast, right? It's like when someone says I'm an HR expert, I'm like, are you really? Like you're an expert in payroll and benefits and talent, all of it? I don't know.
Workforce development?
Yeah, you might. I don't know. You might be thinking of too highly of yourself.
Yeah, because that's a lot to, especially put on a bookkeeper to cover for you. And so you talked a little bit about where these approaches can be a bit of a mismatch. When it comes to like the needs of small businesses, you see, especially right now with things going on with AI, people are getting pitched and promised all kinds of things. What do you see are some of the places where some of these promises and pitches with tools, solutions really fall short, and where should people really look alive out there?
Yeah, I mean, some of these tools are good, but they're like, you gotta, like, you can obviously go to ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, put like, how to hire someone, obviously, right? But is it based on your situation, on your experience, like, it's all different, right? You have to have some kind of human element, I think you can use AI as a baseline, but you got to use your experience and job skills, whatever, as as the final push through, I think,
Yeah, and that's an excellent point, because when you think about there's tools, there's services, but you're somebody who, in my opinion, has made a very good argument for the fact that small businesses are still underserved despite all of these different tools, pitches, proposals, solutions. Tell our audience a little bit why you see this big opportunity in small business still being there.
I mean, because like, even though there's all these tools out here, you still have to take time to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a small business, you're doing all this stuff, right? Like, I kind of joke around as a start founder, like, I get told, marketing should be a priority, tech should be a priority, all these priorities, right? But what should be a priority is what you need to do, right? And HR is like, there's tools out to do it, but why do it yourself, right? When someone like myself can do it for you.
Yeah, and you also bring up an interesting point about more tools, more options. Decision fatigue is real.
Exactly. And the Cheesecake Factory menu, know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Book of Appetizers, Chapter 3, Verse 2, right?
3 minutes later, you're still on page 6.
Yeah, and also, I really like your perspective on this idea that more sometimes means more. The more tools you have mean you need more expertise. That means you need more time to integrate. Means you need more people, not less. So coming back to your services you offer, what would you say is your primary differentiator? You talked to maybe Anna when she was kind of going through her options, or those folks signed up for ADP and now they're paying for 2 like payroll systems. These folks have been approached by Gusto, they've been approached by Rippling. What, I guess, is kind of like your elevator pitch around what differentiates you?
I think the big difference is, of course, we're going to have an AI platform to help you out. One thing that makes us different from Gusto and Rippling and other places, they all get HR people, right? But like, suppose you call another company, you might talk to Tom on Monday, Susan on Thursday, Jason on Friday. With us, it's the same person each time, right? So it's kind of embedded in your team. I mean, they don't work for you full time, but you need an HR problem that you talk to the same person over and over again, right? So I think that's the biggest differentiator. And plus, too, we look at it more like an engineering problem, right? Versus just a soft skill, right? Because I think engineering can solve a lot of this HR stuff.
Yeah, and please say more about that and walk us a bit through your subscription model. If somebody wants to get started, what's their journey like, and how what can they expect in working with you, getting signed up?
Onboarding is very important. So we do have a freemium model for companies 1 to 10 people, because with our research, if a company has 10 or less, they're probably not going to pay for it, right? So we have a free model, but that's like the employee handbook, HR policies. And then from 11 to 19, it's like $100 a month. 20 to 34, 200, and like 35 to $404. Like they need $100 increase each time. And right now it's like basic HR, employee handbook, HR policies, HR advice. I plan to do everything A to Z, like job descriptions, payroll, that kind of stuff. Performance management is a plan in the future.
Yeah, and that's really holistic and end to end. Tell us what your traction has been like? You're reaching out to this underserved market. There's all these tools. Like, what's your progress so far? Where are you looking to take it?
Yeah, of course, you never make much progress you want to as a founder, but it's been interesting, right? So, of course, I made a lot of mistakes. One mistake I made was talking too much to early stage startups. I've actually 20 paying customers pass, but since early stage startups, all of them are out of business now, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had 20 paying customers, had like $55,000 revenue. I've done 80 beta tests. Of course, for this traction, right? Some people stuff. Like, I do have a lot of soft tracks on podcasts and stuff. I'm a top 2% podcast in the world, number 80 tech podcast. That's like a big driver for me too, right? And one thing everyone is willing to list, right? Like, I have a good reputation. If you Google me, stuff comes up, right? So I'm not like, some, random Joe trying to sell stuff,
Yeah, and say more about because I know some folks, they're just like, how do we get to HR and ecosystem from podcasts, ebooks? Share a little bit more about that kind of flywheel that you have, putting yourself out there.
Yeah, so I started a podcast a while ago, and it was like the market HR, right? So, but then everyone said do a 30-minute podcast, right? Talk to other HR people. So talk to other HR people. They bought one off Jason. These HR people are not going to buy your platform because they'll have their own platform, right? And I learned, like, I'm actually kind of good at this, right? 30 minutes is not enough time, right? So basically, that's copy Joe Rogan, right? Longer conversations. And even though I might talk to someone who is not a small business owner, like I've had artists on here, politicians, they can still help me tell the story, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always a good way to keep people in your purview, so to speak. Like I do even someone like tomorrow. 2 months from now, I might republish a clip of them tag. Oh man, I forgot about Jason. It is a good flywheel because when I do a podcast, I post a video on all different platforms, those short videos. It's a good way to keep yourself out there.
Yeah, and somebody who has had that podcast experience view and seeing other ones, I think that is very germane to being good at HR, being good with people, being good with these sorts of conversations, and showing people, not telling them that that's something you can do.
Yeah, that's a good HR person. They don't tell you what to do. They kind of influence you to get there, right? They kind of lead their way. Like when I close, like the CEO says, I want to fire, Mary because she's pregnant now. HR person, you shouldn't say, you can't do that. You should be like, okay, you're the CEO, you do what you want to, but if you do that, these might be implications, right? Do you really want to do these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
You have to lay out the good and bad of everything.
Yeah. And you're about to scale up to be able to offer more of that perspective, more of that expertise. You got a launch coming up on September 8th. Yes. Tell our audience about what you got and what they can expect.
Yes, how the refund are going on. So as a non-tech founder, the biggest challenge has always been the tech piece, right? I've had like a lot of tech people, CTOs, they always pretty lead, have better opportunities. We did build I would call it MVP minus like a year ago. It was real good. But person who built it out, great person, but she got it out with Walmart. Of course, I can't fuck around with that, right? And so the system has bugs in it, right? So I've been to Vietnam 3 times. I actually have some software developers who can build for me, right? And like, it's not like freelancers, not companies, like actually people I've dealt with, have a good connection with, right?
Yeah.
And in comparison, like in the United States, a development 100,000, Vietnam is 30,000, right? And not to talk about US developers, but they're working 40 hours probably not anymore, right? In Vietnam, they're working they're holding their craft, right? And so there's a money saving I can do with that on the fundraiser. So the fundraiser starts September 8th. It's going to like 60 days. And the thing with refunder, people may or not know, like you have to raise a minimum 50,000, right? So if I raise $49,999, I'll get the money, right? So I have to raise 50,000. After that, I can keep it all, right? And I think they charge they keep that 7% of it, which is already fair, right? So yeah, pushing ourselves on social media, doing this. We're talking about Vietnam in a minute. I'm going to Vietnam on Sunday for 30 days. Got a lot of connections there. I'm actually doing my refund launch party in Ho Chi Minh City at a friend's bar.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 35 people signed up to that, like tech people, a lot of people like that. In Vietnam, I was there November to February this last year, 24-25. I did 18-person podcast there. It was insane, yeah. So a lot of good stuff going on in Vietnam. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And the refund, but it didn't mean like social media push, I call it joking around, begging for money, right?
That's right. You got to pass the plate digitally.
Yes.
Everywhere you can. So launch is September 8th. Lots of exciting things happening. Like you said, already made some great connections in Vietnam, wanting to build more of that, expand on more of that. Where do you see yourself in Cavness HR, its impact in 2 to 3 years?
Man, so I want to the impact to the question. So this is kind of stressful. I want to help decrease the number of small business failures, right? Because a lot of small business failures do fail because like not sexy stuff, the accounting, the bookkeeping, HR, not having to do something. And here's another example of how I help someone out, right? So another customer I had, so they hired this lady. I would say her name is Mary, right? And they, hey, Mary, Jason, Mary's not working out. She's toxic. She's not a fit. Been in for 6 months working out. She knows it. We know it. We have agreement. We sign the paperwork. We give her like some severance pay. She leave, right? Everything's done, right? But she told us that she's pregnant. Yeah, and so like I'm not saying not to still do what you're doing, but like someone is gonna say you fired her because you're pregnant, right? So maybe you do keep on after they've done, like just those kind of conversations, right? Because like it doesn't matter if everything's done. Someone might be a mother, might be someone they're gonna go on social media and say, hey, this company hired my friend Mary because you're pregnant, right? And then how does that damage your brand? Another thing HR should be doing like protect your brand too, right? HR is good. Should be protecting your brand. Another HR is not for an employee, right? HR is for the business, right? A lot of people get that done wrong. Like they'll go tell HR person, hey, HR person, I'm looking for a job. Don't tell no one. Like what? Like, I have to start getting your replacement. I have to tell the boss like these things you gotta do, right? Yeah, HR is not your friend. It's. But on the other hand too, they should kind of protect you from the boss. The boss does stupid shit too, right? Another pet peeve of mine too, I hear on the news all the time, like this tech CEO did this crazy shit, right? Whereas HR, I'm pretty sure HR is trying to damnedest, like keep them from doing it, right?
Yes.
Like the HR lady, HR person, they have a mortgage, right? They just can't say, oh, I'm gonna stand on principles and quit the job. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate this kind of risk management view you're bringing up around how there are so many high potential businesses and startups that, the investors are excited about the addressable market, about the team. But once you start bringing in these other folks and you start building and scaling and you're trying to get to IPO, all of that great tech and IP and the moat that you built, it's crazy how the wrong kind of hire, a compliance misstep, the sorts of risks that you're trying to mitigate and get ahead of, that could be the thing that like really disrupts the business or maybe like even derails the brand. I'm learning too, especially talking to you, like in startup world, that like you said, those golden handcuffs, Walmart can give them platinum handcuffs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, some people tell themselves, well, we'll just be able to, this raise that I just did, I'll be able to negotiate a crazy salary and retention and all of that. And I think it's really interesting that how people think that they can throw tech money, et cetera, and that somehow solves what you're talking about, that you still need HR help to navigate. Because what I'm hearing you say is it's great to have HR there because those are the folks that keep you from having to hang out with your lawyers.
Yes. Another thing, like HR, you get to solve all kind of crazy problems that you don't get in school, right? So one time I had a customer, and they called me. I like this rumor, right? So supposedly that employee, and supposedly that employee told someone else that worked there that he takes showers with his kids, right? Like he's 39, he's like 8 years old, and he can't really take the showers. So like, can I hire him for this?